Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with these nerds.
Nathan Nerdarch.
Nerdarch is dead.
And today we continue our intro into Dungeons & Dragons with classes. Today we're talking about the Rogue. Whether it's your first set of dice or your 100th set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for your dice rolling needs. Down in the description below you can find a special coupon code to save 20% one time. You can also find the link to easyrollerdice.com/Nerdarchy. And today we're talking about the Rogue from the Player's Handbook for the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, which can be found on page 94.
All right, so what is it that makes a rogue?
So the Rogue is a bit of a specialist when it comes to the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons character classes. And here's the tricky part about playing a rogue, or the great part about playing a rogue really is that specialty has a lot of flexibility. You can kind of choose how you want to play your rogue.
And how would you go about doing that?
Well, one, you could model one of the characters from famous novels or history, possibly. Like Robin Hood.
So how would Robin Hood be a good rogue?
Oh, well, Robin Hood is like your classic highwayman, but he's also kind of got the heart of gold because he's robbing from the rich and given to the poor.
Right. So with that mindset, he's sneaky, as rogues tend to be, and he's got that typical thief mindset, which makes the highwayman the clear choice for that historic character.
Right, and he's also a master archer, which actually dovetails back into some of the other rogue-like abilities that we'll get into later in the video.
Right. So what other characters, make good rogues, or would be rogues if you were to make them in D&D?
Well, surprisingly, Sherlock Holmes would be a good rogue. He would be good at finding rogues, but he would be a rogue in the sense that he could do like investigative things and his skill specialization within the rogue set.
Well, that goes back to what we said about, rogues are really, they're really like a specialist. Mm-hmm. And that's like, by choosing your specialties, he would actually be like the anti-rogue rogue.
So we also have Catwoman, who is kind of more your typical thieves' thief of rogues. And by being a cat burglar, she's going to break in and do stuff.
Right. So these are all great examples of different ways to play a rogue class, and why players might be interested in playing the rogue.
Okay.
So now, like, when we get into the actual rogue abilities, they're not a warrior, but they're not a spellcaster either, so they get the medium hit die. Their good saving throws are going to be dex and intelligence. A good rogue lives by his wits and his agility, pretty much.
But later on in life, or later on in level, they will actually get wisdom as well.
Like most people do over time. Yes. They're actually their mental fortitude hardens even more. Making them even more adaptable and versatile.
Nice.
As far as armor and weapons go, they don't get quite as much as, say, a warrior class, but they get more of this than the spellcasters once again.
And this speaks to the versatility of the class, because then they then have the ability to play with how their character is built to maximize how they're handling in combat.
Right. Now, actually delving into their proficiencies, so they get light armor, and they get a handful of weapons that would be easily concealable or easy to use or more dex-based.
Right.
The rogue gets the most skill proficiencies in the game. They get 4, not to mention they also get access to thieves' tools.
Right, which, is incredibly useful for, if you're going to actually play that thiefy kind of thief.
Well, it also gives you the variability to be the Sherlock Holmes all the way to the Robin Hood to the Catwoman, cat burglar. So it gives you a wide degree of customization.
And the way you really work with that specialty is to actually take what's called, or what rogues get is called expertise, which allows you to be doubly proficient at a handful of skills.
Yeah, they gain extra mastery over a certain number of skills throughout their career.
Right.
So again, it goes back to play the kind of rogue you want to play.
Right.
Which is really cool. So and then we kind of move into some of their other abilities, like they get a special language. There is only actually 2 classes in the whole game that get a special language, and rogue is one of them. they learn thieves can't. And really, that's like being able to talk to other criminals on the street, and you have like your secret language
Without saying anything incriminating.
It's kind of like slang to some regards, because you're using a little bit of innuendos and pre-planned phrases that actually allow you to say something that could be misconstrued or not be misconstrued, so that you can get away with saying, okay, the heist is going down tonight, without actually letting anyone know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you say you're taking out the laundry, or you're taking the guy for a stroll by the pier.
So that's kind of thieves can't in a nutshell. So one of the other hallmark abilities of the rogue, and it kind of dovetails back into when we were talking about Robin Hood being a master archer, and why the rogue could actually fit that role really well.
Mm-hmm. And that's their combat prowess, and particularly their sneak attack.
Yes, they get an ability called sneak attack, which focuses on precision and allows them to do a lot more damage. They get to hit really hard once per turn.
Right, and that really makes the rogue character shine, but there are limitations on when a sneak attack can be used.
Now, they also have other abilities that really highlights how deft they are and at performing actions.
Well, they actually have a what's called a Cunning Action that can be used as a bonus action. They can either do a move, they can hide, or they can get away from an opponent.
Speaking of get away, they're really good at getting away from damage in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, a lot of the rogue skills are all about avoidance and not getting hurt and things of that nature. And they actually have several different abilities throughout the levels that gives this to them. So that's another reason to be a rogue. One, if you want to hit hard and not be there when the damage is going down, a rogue is definitely the class for you.
Well, it's just building blocks so that your character winds up surviving. It's a survivalist, really.
Well, yeah, survivalist is another way to describe them that works really well. The urban survivalist, perhaps.
Perhaps.
So then that brings us to another thing that's really unique about playing a rogue, and that's ability score improvements.
Of all the classes, they get the second most amount of ability bumps.
Yeah, they get one more than everybody else, and one less than the fighter. So, all in all, it's a good deal. It's a rare thing that comes up in the game, and being able to tap into that in extra time is a huge benefit to this class.
Right. It's one of those classes that it really behooves you to take it all the way to its highest level. As I know, like some people like the multi-class, but this is one of those
Rogue gets a lot of good stuff all the way through.
Yep. As with all classes, there are a number of archetypes. What is your opinions of the rogue's archetypes?
Well, they have 3 of them in the player's handbook, and they're pretty diverse. You've got the assassin, right? You got the thief, and you have the arcane trickster. These 3 couldn't be the further apart.
So your thief is, as I mentioned, earlier, this is going to fall into your Catwoman. It's your thieves' thief. It's the person who's going to go in and steal stuff.
Right. If you want to play a cat burglar, they literally have an ability called second story work. So that's definitely their thing. And also the different thief archetypes also lend you different abilities as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the assassin gives you a lot more skills to put in your repertoire. Like they get poison use, which is the only class I believe in the whole game that actually offers that one up, the poisoner's kit.
Mm-hmm.
They get disguise kit. So all things that help them infiltrate and be better. Really, the assassin too is like, I want to play a ninja. These guys are kind of the ninjas.
And our third archetype is the Arcane Trickster, and this is if you want to actually combine your roguiness with some arcane magic.
Yeah, like they get to do really cool things, like using those bonus actions we talked about before with the Cunning Action. They get to do new things with it, and they get to insert a little bit of magic with it. Like picking someone's pocket across the room with using a magical hand.
Let's say, what races make good rogues?
All right, like anything, you can play pretty much any race for any class. But when we're talking about the rogue, really, they only have one stat that you really, really need to worry about, and that's dexterity. So it actually makes them a little bit easier to fit into with, most of the races. But there's some races that are definitely going to excel at playing your rogue characters.
So that would be your elves and your halflings.
And of course, as always, humans and half elves can pretty much play anything. But here's the thing, like especially with the half elf, decide if you're going skill heavy, which as a half elf you get extra skills anyway, so that it dovetails really nicely into this class. But if you want to be more of a charismatic rogue and a charmer, like the half elf is perfect for that, because they get that high bonus to their charisma, and then they get two other floating bonuses where they can put them wherever they want.
Right.
So the half elf actually also makes a really good rogue.
So it really depends upon, as Dave says, what manner of rogue you're looking to play is going to determine what race is going to wind up fitting. But really, whatever flavor you like, play whatever you like.
Essentially, yes. And let's face it, every society, every culture has its own rogues gallery, right? So they all kind of work. So, but hey, if you got any more questions, leave them in the comments below. If we don't get to it, the awesome Nerdarchy community will. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over at nerdarchy.com.
And don't forget to use the link below, easyrollerdice.com/nerdarchy to get your Easy Roller Dice.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.